Hello everyone, the FNAF Character Encyclopedia has finally released. Every animatronic, and I mean every animatronic, has about 1 to 2 pages dedicated to themselves. And obviously I'm not going to read or show you everyone and everything, get the book yourself, but I'll go over any important details and things I decided to note down. I will say now though that there is really nothing important from the AR skin pages, so don't expect me to go over Piranha Plush Trap. Let's begin. Here you'll notice it says special thanks to Dorko. Turns out he read over the book and suggested some things, although he later clarified that he didn't actually write anything. So don't think that this entire book is written by him either. The location page notes every location we've been to within FNAF, but interestingly enough calls Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals, and therefore Pizza World, a branch of the Fazbear Empire, which we kind of assumed once an official Fazbear location included Funtime animatronics, and then later Help Wanted also included the Funtimes. So we know eventually the Funtimes stopped being purely Afton Robotics characters and did join into becoming part of the Fazbear Empire, as they call it. We also read about the bedroom, which is the FNAF 4 bedroom, saying it's where a child is haunted by terrible memories of a visit to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now, this caused a lot of immediate confusion when people saw this, but it's not actually new information. On the Steam page for FNAF 4, it says we play as a child whose role is yet unknown, and we always knew that was the case due to how tall we actually are in game. This does not confirm Crying Child himself is who we play as it says how he's haunted by memories of a visit to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which we never see Crying Child do in the flashback minigames, as this is Fredbear's. It's about how Michael is being haunted by his memories of his visit to the FNAF 1 Freddy's, which is why the Nightmare animatronics have the same movement patterns as the FNAF 1 characters, and we hear the FNAF 1 phone call. It's his memories of that experience to FNAF 1 Freddy's also mixing with his memories of being by Crying Child's deathbed. FNAF 4 is simply different memories of different times mixing in and out of Michael's nightmares. So realistically, that's not really new information. The thing is, there is no possible way for us to be playing as the Crying Child in FNAF 4. Plain and simple. It would only work if FNAF 4's gameplay takes place prior to his death, which due to us hearing the phone call from a decade after his death isn't the case. Moving on, and believe it or not, Golden Freddy's page doesn't reveal much. Interestingly enough, it asks who's in there, and just doesn't talk about that at all, and more so just the character's design and mechanics. Although maybe that was removed, because it starts the new paragraph with "this seems to confirm the ghostly weird blah 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 blah." Although that could just be a continuation of the previous paragraph, but it's just weird that there's a subheading here, separating the paragraphs. Shadow Freddy also doesn't reveal much, it just mentions how we don't know much about him, and questions whether he will be an important crucial character in the ongoing mythology of Five Nights at Freddy's. And then it talks about his role in FNAF 3 where he was indeed crucial. Same said about Shadow Bonnie, nothing's really said or revealed here, so we know we aren't necessarily getting big reveals here. Toy Chica's page mentions how she has teeth in her beak, and mentions the line about "where's my beak lodged into your forehead, blah blah blah." I'm still convinced about my theory that Toy Chica caused the bite of 87, and those lines are saying we should be focusing on Toy Chica. Interestingly enough, Dark Springtrap gets his own page, which is revealed to be the Springtrap that we see in the Sis Location cutscene. I mean, it's kind of unnecessary, but I guess now we know that it goes normal Spring Bonnie, turns into Springtrap, turns into Dark Springtrap, and then turns into Scrap Trap. But you know, unnecessary. And you may notice at this point that I skipped all of Foxy's characters and all of Puppet, blah blah blah. Like I said, I'm just going over the crucial information, or weird things I noticed. And to be honest, it doesn't really seem like there's much here. Now that I'm scrolling past the Stitch Wraith, I should probably mention that next week the first episode of the Fazbear Frights timeline is coming out on this channel, which there will be like 11 or 12 parts of, all ending with the Stitch Wraith finale. So please make sure to subscribe with notifications on to be notified when that comes out. The mediocre melodies are interestingly enough noted to be a deliberate attempt to mimic the Fazbear animatronics, possibly after their success, and it mentions how they have small changes and are altered, like Ned Bear wearing a regular tie instead of a bow tie, simply to avoid any copyright issues. So we now know that all of these guys seem to come after the first animatronics were made. Roxanne Wolf's page seems to mention how Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place itself is a haunted building, Not sure if that's literal or could be hinting at anything, but I just thought I would mention it just in case there might be a theory there for later, not sure. Interestingly enough, Burntrap and the Blob are not their canon names, which honestly I am thankful for. The Blob is not a good name. But the Burntrap page outright says that this is this Spring Bonnie suit, and it seems to be the same one we've seen throughout the series, as it says, has by this time, as if this suit was made a long time ago, become even more tattered and degraded, and as the name suggests, burned. And the Blob's page mentions how the animatronics all ended up here, and says it possibly got its origins from Ennard, but it's now combined with even more characters. So honestly, this still doesn't make sense. We can only really just kind of assume, I guess, that this guy started as Molten Freddy, but then also we have to question how all these guys are in it, so who knows. Okay, now we move on to this. The ghost drawing on the Crying Child page is simply showing his dead form. It does not mean that this specific look has to appear in any of the games. I did see people mad about that, believe it or not. That because this specific ghost wasn't in the game, this book is horrible. It doesn't matter. It's just simply showing that he is dead. This is what his ghost would look like. I think it's pretty cool. I really don't get how this makes the book bad. But anyways, it mentions how he's the main character in FNAF 4, where only his real story is told in the end of night minigames. So nothing has changed. The line about him being terrorized by the nightmare animatronics in his bedroom honestly does not make sense, and seems like a mistake. Unless possibly it could be explaining the sister location map and how the nightmares seem to have been real to a degree at some point. I really do understand how it seems like the Bush is pushing the Crying Child is who we play as in FNAF 4 narrative, but we know there is literally no way for that to work. Unless it's like an Ultimate Custom Night situation where his spirit is living through the nightmare, which explains how he can hear the phone call from a decade later, but that is highly unlikely. His literal ghost is there. He's 100% definitely dead by that time that the phone call comes around. Another thing people getting mad at is this page, mostly because of this line here, bringing new meaning to the phrase spoiled child. But this is just a joke about being spoiled rotten. She is literally a rotten corpse. Michael is also mentioned here, and for those wondering why he doesn't have his own page, I think it's pretty easy to understand why. It's pretty easy to know that we play as Michael in all games, although technically that's just theories and assumptions. The book would have to go over each night guard, how they connect, how we know it's Michael, etc., and would just flat out confirm it instead of it being a mystery. And so Michael's page would simply just become a theory page, as they could technically only write about sister location being confirmed. But if they only wrote about that, everyone would assume that that means that everything else is debunked. So they couldn't just write about that, but they couldn't write about the other guards because it's all theory. But if you just play the games or spend a second learning the lore, you'll immediately know who Michael is. It's the same reason why even Phone Guy doesn't have a page. Anything important said by him is sprinkled throughout the pages, but there's just nothing really to say about him besides he worked at the pizzerias and died. Although that's just me explaining why they don't have a page, I still think they should have had a page. They made a page for Clockwork Ballora. What? Now we get to these two pages, Vanessa and Vanny and Gregory. Now look, even though I strongly disagree with it, if Vanessa and Vanny are different people and are truly separate, or let's even just say that Gregory is a robot, right? It's not going to get blatantly confirmed or debunked here. They're not going to ruin a huge big twist like that here. And if you've read the leaked GGY story, then you know that not everything is here and they're not revealing anything about that plotline in these pages. Overall, I think everyone's been over-exaggerating with how horrible this book is. It's basically like the Ultimate Guide, where it's simply a book with all the information on this entire series that a new fan could use, or even a dedicated fan would want, so that you don't have to spend any time researching for one plot point or character moment, since it's literally a page flip away, and all here in these books. It gives us some great FNAF World-esque character descriptions, new model poses, some fun facts that reveal so much about the lore, and some really cool character art. It's actually a really good book overall if you're simply not looking at it to be the key to solving FNAF, and more as what it actually is, a character encyclopedia.